welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, I'm bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that I did in Bengaluru earlier on the topic of branding and marketing for small businesses and how the world around us is changing. Listen in to what some of the biggest experts in this space had to say to me about how entrepreneurs should be using digital and social tools to their advantage. We are in Bangalore, the home really of technology, and how technology is affecting how businesses talk to their customers, how customers and businesses are doing business as well and are talking and branding themselves as well. This is a question for everyone on this panel, and I want to start with my immediate right. Archana, let me come to you first. Your model is slightly different perhaps from what the other two entrepreneurs on this panel of course do, but if you can talk about at Amazon, how you're basically seeing the India perspective when it comes to branding and marketing and how that's changing.
Before I kind of get into what we do at Amazon, I think a quick insight that I'd like to give is about 10 years ago, everybody thought marketing was like making babies. Everybody knew how to do it. Everybody had a view on it, and everybody thought they were very good at it, right? I'm so glad that views changed over the last 10 years. Now, just to give an Amazon perspective to it, we work very closely with SMBs. And therefore, when I speak about reaching out, I speak about reaching out to SMBs. I speak about reaching out to close to 3.4 lakh sellers that sell with us and the strategies of communication that we use with them. And I think those are three-pronged. I think the first really is make sure you're sending the right messaging to the right audience at the right time, which is really the first check in the box, which is awareness. How do you drive awareness? So for example, when we started, we didn't know, we got to know that a lot of sellers didn't know what it was to sell online. And so there was a lot of effort that we put in through activations that we did, which were called Chai Cart, which is when we went into the market. And we actually, over a glass of, a cup of tea, a glass of nimbu pani, actually spoke to sellers about what is it to sell online. क्या होता है, मतलब क्या करना पड़ता है, photo डालनी पड़ती है, नहीं डालनी पड़ती है. How do you actually sell online? So that's really the first leg. The second leg is once you get to a point of awareness, the step that you take is you use a combination of what I would call enablement and tools. You realize what the problems are, and you figure out how do you solve those problems for them, which means it could be a combination of having support on ground for them. It could be a combination of something that we do, which is called Seller University, which is where we teach them how to sell online. So that's really the second leg. The third leg is engagement, which is the most critical. So in the world that exists today, there's always live data coming to you. So you engage via social, you engage via digital, you engage real time, which is face-to-face in forums like this. We do something called Amazon Connect, where we talk to the sellers and say, hey, do you have a problem? How do we solve it for you? And then you also look at data, which is, if there is a seller, then, how is it that the seller is trending on, say, reviews?
Sure.
Right? So get feedback live. I think that's how I would segregate the communication strategy.
Sure. Shrikant?
Yeah, I definitely think that, especially for the SMB, and I've been running startups for the last 25 years. So, and obviously, depending on the life cycle of where your business is, I think the need changes. So I believe that at the beginning stage today, you just cannot ignore digital as part of your marketing and communication program, because it actually is much cheaper for you to use digital than think of going to ATL and stuff like that. So anyway, in the beginning stages, none of us can, probably dream of advertising on TV or on newsprint or something like that. So initially, in the initial stages, I think digital is the way to go. And once you reach a certain size, I think then you need to start thinking about a completely blended approach, which includes ATL and digital. Performance still can be driven. Performance marketing will cap out at a certain point. It will give you very good returns till you reach a certain size. But after that, it'll start giving you diminishing returns for the dollar that you're spending. So after that, you'll need to start looking at how you're going to have a blended way in which you're reaching. So that really has changed. In the, 10 years ago, obviously, there was no other way. I mean, you would only advertise if you were really big, otherwise just don't advertise. That's about it, maybe 15 years ago. But now, you can advertise with a 1,000 rupee budget per month, which was just not possible earlier. So I think that really has changed in the last decade or so and will continue to change.
Sure. I will come and talk about what perhaps are also the pitfalls then that one needs to keep in mind when it comes to talking online. But just before I come to you, Seema, I want to talk to Kamal also about how he perhaps is viewing how communication and branding and marketing is changing for small businesses.
The key aspect that I am observing around is that, of course, social media has made it so easy. Today, even entrepreneurs, even before they announce, they actually are ensuring that they're ticking all the boxes that they're already present in these channels, and they're following the influencers, making the necessary noise already before even they've spent their first dollar on what you can call as marketing budget. And of course, like Srikanth mentioned, today it's become more cheaper. Today you have agencies, even though you may not be able to afford a marketing guy in your own company, today you have agencies which can actually do it in a very, very competitive way and ensure that from day one you're actually out there in the market even before your product is out. But I think what has changed clearly is the social media. 4 or 5 channels which have already put you out there even before your product has gone. And I work in a co-working space, so every day I see about 30, 40 companies who are coming or going. And I see that in one way or the other, even before I've met them, I somehow heard about them because they say, look, we've ensured that even before a product is out, personally, we have spent time on social media to ensure that, we are there. So that way, I think, without spending a dime, they already present themselves in areas that they possibly would spend dollars in the past and be there.
Sure. You teach, Seema, you teach digital marketing. So maybe you can talk to us about also how digital marketing is changing. What are the changes that you're seeing, and how really what are the different needs, and how you're able to prepare the students that you do and the executives who come to you for these needs of the future.
Digital marketing, it's a very exciting field. So I'm seeing a lot of interest, and it's an elective course at IMB. And more than half the students, so more than 50% of the students, they take up the course on digital marketing. So even if they have to make a career in finance or consulting, they want to take up a course in digital marketing because that's the future. And they want to equip themselves with the skills which are needed to excel in the future. And these corporates, so basically any digital marketing should have some hands-on component. You cannot learn digital marketing by reading a book. The first thing which is needed, whether it's a 50-year-old corporate executive or a small entrepreneur like you or a student who's 20-year-old, is to shed all the fears, the fear of technology. So once we overcome the fear of technology, we can learn anything.
All right. Let me take a quick step back. There have been some interesting opening comments, but I want to just take a step back and talk about what a strong brand identity consists of. If you were to say this is what a brand identity consists of, this is what a brand should be for an entrepreneur, are there some sort of key things that our audience should be aware of that consist and make that up?
I think a good brand is when your actions speak louder than words. You cannot shout at the top of the hill and say, I am the best, I am the best. Nobody will believe you. So when you are consistently delivering on promise, automatically brand is built. You spend millions of dollars on advertising, but if you are not delivering and not delighting your customers, your brand will never be built. So first step is do what you are doing well. Once you are consistently doing it, then a very good way of credibly building a brand is by looking at some organic methods. So when we talk of digital, it can be search engine optimization. So when people are searching and they are seeking out your product or service, are you coming up higher and organically creating a pull or not?
Sure. Archana, when you are talking to the people who are, the sellers on your platform, How do you help them understand, because these are small businesses, how do you help them understand how to build a brand, what that brand is, what it should communicate, what it should stand for?
The first things first is you always build a brand customer backwards. That's the ethos that we always talk about at Amazon. So you think customer backwards, you build customer backwards. And as he very rightly said, you define what your brand is actually going to stand for. So I'll take an example here. When we started off in India and we were talking to various sellers, we defined that we would stand for trust, we would stand for convenience at all given points of time, and we would stand for competence. First things first, very important to work customer backwards, extremely important to value what you stand for and to define it and to constantly keep reinforcing it. To answer your question, how we do it with sellers, I think we do it multi-pronged. The first is, wherever we believe there is a challenge in the seller universe, we will find means or tool backwards to enable that. For example, if we believe that sellers may find it tough accessing their dashboards on the desktops, we will come up with a seller mobile app that allows them to view that dash.
All right, it's time for a break here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. On the other side, we'll continue bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that we did in Bengaluru talking about branding and marketing for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Do stay tuned. We're back after a very short break. You're back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on the show, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion from Bengaluru. We do 20 roadshows across the length and the breadth of the country to connect better with you, the entrepreneur. Listening to some of the highlights of this panel discussion, we spoke about how the world around entrepreneurs is changing, given technology is impacting how they communicate their brand to the external audience. Listen.
So when we're talking data, how do you measure data? How do you track that data at a time when also the metrics that you're using to sort of read that data is also constantly changing? So then how, for small businesses, what is the advice in ensuring that you're understanding data and it becomes your friend?
So obviously, one great thing that technology gives us and has given us is profiling can be far, far better than it ever used to be. We'll be able to target far better, which is what actually has translated into us being able to launch marketing campaigns with thousands of rupees per month rather than lakhs or crores per month, which was the erstwhile case, right? So that's really the importance of data. So here you have any platform, or if you can target your customer as accurately as possible and give them the message that your product or service is available and you've spoken to them at the right time, then pretty much your job is done. So, I mean, I don't need to overemphasize the importance of data. I'll give you an example for us, which is actually even more tricky. We are in a business where we sell like home interiors to homeowners, right? The same buyer, you can be buying either for your own use when your behavior is in one way, or you can be buying interiors for renting it when your behavior can be completely different. So not only is your profiling important, but the context is also very, very important. So that's how important, and that's what data can do. It can give you far more insight into your consumer today, which you never used to have before.
Just to tweak to that question, Srikanth, and this is, of course, for the rest of the panel as well, how much data is too much data for a small business to get caught up looking at?
Every SMB player in this room and every customer that I have for Amazon, all do not come with the same needs. And therefore, when I interpret data for A, it's not the same thing as interpreting data for set B. So yes, social will give you all the tools. It'll give you profiling, it'll give you insights, it'll give you audience, it'll give you reach, it'll give you CPC, it'll give you CPL. Do not discount the value of customer anecdotes. I did not get my order on time is a very strong data point for me. I got my data, I got my package 5 days after I actually ordered it, and you committed the 2-day timeline. That's data for me. So it's important that you nuance data, get the data to do the job that you expect it to do, but do not negate anecdotes. So I think it's very, very important to read data like it should be. Don't get into data panic also beyond a point.
Okay, Seema?
As entrepreneurs, since we have limited capacity to pay for data analytics tools, so we should look at using some of the free tools which are available. So as an entrepreneur, if you are having a website, then there are free tools like Google Analytics, and one can get basic data that how many unique visitors are there, what is the bounce rate, on an average how many pages people have visited per visitor. So there are many free tools available on digital marketing. So that is the strength of digital marketing. As an entrepreneur, you should just check whether you are leveraging the opportunity or not.
Sure. Now, even as we're talking about technology, the important piece is also the people aspect of it. And Kamal, I want to come to you on this. How do you ensure that you find the right people who understand the changing tools of technology? And basically, when they're going into digital marketing roles, ensuring that they understand the subject matter, and also the people who are already in-house also understand how the world around them is changing.
I'll start with the people whom we are trying to hire, because that's a difficult one. Today, everybody claims, if you just do a random glance of people who are marketeers, everybody's a digital expert today, because all it takes is to add one more word against your resume, or if it's LinkedIn, and you tend to become a digital marketeer. But I think what organizations are finding it hard is, that they possibly tick all the boxes during the interviews. You do not have a foolproof way of knowing whether they know what they're claiming to be knowing. And some of the larger companies today also give kind of live projects when they're doing, mid-level interviews. Of course, people take offense, but the serious ones also understand that, if they want a job in that place, they're willing to go through that mile. So there are live projects given to people as to how would you do this, And of course, the only way to determine whether a guy can do a job that you're interviewing today is to get through referencing. Whatever you say in the interview has to be taken through a pinch of salt. Very senior people, when you're recruiting, you can't actually ask them to do projects or do live presentations to them, So there are sensitivities involved in hiring. So the only way good guys get hired is through referencing today. On the part of people who are already there in the organization for their upskilling, I think it starts from the top. People, I think, who are at the helm of the affairs need to demonstrate, their savviness to digital marketing. You can't leave it to the marketing department. If you are the CEO of the company, you need to be in it completely, and also the senior leadership team. Even if you are in seemingly roles like finance and HR, I think you need to bring everybody together to ensure that the culture of the company is towards digital.
Quick checklist, maybe if I can get it from all four of my panelists, in terms of what entrepreneurs should keep in mind when it comes to using digital and social, because you can destroy your brand just as easily as you're building it online today. So hygiene when it comes to do's and don'ts of building a business online. Could I maybe come to you first, Seema?
In this era, we can't have skeletons in a cupboard. So you can't have any secrets to hide. Complete transparency is the norm. So if you're running the business in a completely transparent manner and paying all the taxes and so on, so one can sleep peacefully, and there's not so much juggling that you have to do. As far as ORM, which is online reputation management, is concerned, still you can have a nasty customer, and customer had one bad experience and can write and damage your reputation on Facebook or any other platform. So the only way to tackle it is you have to try and take it offline. And time is of essence. So how quickly you arrest and solve the problem. So if you delay, then it will just very quickly spread. So response time is critical, and then taking the online problem or negative feedback to offline, and then getting more positive reviews so that the negative ones, they go down. These are the three things that one can do.
Sure.
The first is decide whether you're looking at open groups versus closed groups, right? So it depends on the type of business. Do you want to be in Facebook for reach? Do you want to be in it for engagement and getting live feedback? So for example, we choose to be a closed seller group on Facebook, which has 15,000 engaged sellers versus having a completely open group. That's number one. Number two, as she said, 100% honesty. Social's a great forum to get anecdotes, good, bad, ugly. Solve them, make sure your TAT is top of the line. So when I'm providing a feedback, I would expect that within the next 3 to 5 hours, somebody would come back to me. I think so that's the second lever. The third lever, I think that's very important, again for social, is type of medium. Do you want to look at video versus text versus any other? Do you believe Pinterest is a better medium for you versus Facebook versus Twitter? Also segregate your channels by what is your expectation. So Facebook may do really well for you if you're pitching on video feeds, for example. I'm just taking a hypothetical example. But Twitter may get even better if you want real-time engagement. But the flip side is it could also turn into a grievance forum. So you need to constantly have that balance to say, how do I build trust using social? And the last, I think I cannot reiterate more, is do not forget that you're there as a brand to service a customer and always wear that hat when you're responding, like you would have probably filed that complaint or expressed that opinion. So always be cognizant to feedback and don't be dismissive of it. All customer feedback, good, bad, ugly, is good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I think most of the points have been covered, but I'll just make it very quick. I think one, speed of response is the most important. I think being very quick is expected today. I mean, you cannot answer 24 hours later. Sorry, it's just not happening. I think humility works very well. So that's the transparency. You can call it, I call it humility. For example, I don't know if any of you remembers, but about 2 years or 3 years ago, the big billion sale, there was a major crash and stuff didn't get done, couldn't order, couldn't get delivered. And I think within 24 hours, there was a CEO who sent out an email to all customers saying, you know what, I'm sorry. That, I think, helps. I think it helped. I mean, I'm sure you agree that it helped, right? I think that is a good example of, kind of trying to turn it around when you're faced with a backlash or a kind of a backlash.
Sure.
More or less covered, but I think the key is ensuring that the presence is important. I think all the 4 or 5 which are critical in social media. I know it could be overwhelming considering you're starting off, or you may not have full-fledged marketing departments, but you have 4 staff with you. I think give each one of them a response to handle one of them. That's a way to look at it, but don't be away. You don't know which one will be of use to you at any given time.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much.
That's all the time we have for you tonight. If you have any feedback for us or want to get in touch with any of our experts, here's how you do that. leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com is our email ID. Get in touch with me on Twitter. Sunanda_J is my personal Twitter handle. You can also tweet at our official Twitter handle, LOT_ET now. On Facebook, we're at Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Do keep your thoughts and comments coming in. We love hearing from you. Have a very good night. Thanks for watching.